They stood on stage together, they shared tour buses, recording studios, and the kind of fame that only a band can create. In this video, we visit the graves of famous band members whose music defined eras and gave millions of people the soundtracks to their lives. Brian Jones died July 3, 1969, aged 27, buried at Cheltenham Cemetery, Cheltenham, Gloucestershire, England. Founder of the Rolling Stones, who named the band and defined its early blues-rooted sound, found dead in his swimming pool less than a month after being fired. Jimi Hendrix died September 18, 1970, aged 27, buried at Greenwood Memorial Park, Renton, Washington. The greatest electric guitarist who ever lived, originally in a modest grave, his remains were moved in 2002 to a granite memorial on the same grounds. Jim Morrison died July 3, 1971, aged 27, buried at Père Lachaise Cemetery, Paris, France. Frontman of The Doors, found dead in a Paris bathtub at 27. His grave one of the most visited in the world, and surrounded by barriers to prevent vandalism. Keith Moon died September 7, 1978, aged 32, cremated, ashes scattered at Golders Green Crematorium, London. The Who's drummer, whose explosive, chaotic playing style was as revolutionary as any guitarist's, dead from an overdose of a drug prescribed to combat alcohol withdrawal. Mama Cass Elliot died July 29, 1974, age 32, buried at Mount Sinai Memorial Park, Hollywood Hills, California. The most recognizable voice of the Mamas and the Papas, whose Dream a Little Dream of Me became one of the most beloved recordings of the 1960s, died of a heart attack, not the false ham sandwich myth. John Bonham died September 25, 1980, age 32, buried at Rushock Parish Churchyard, Rushock, Worcestershire, England. Led Zeppelin's drummer, whose thunderous playing on When the Levee Breaks and Kashmir set the standard for rock drumming, dead from asphyxiation after consuming an estimated 40 shots of vodka. John Lennon died December 8, 1980, age 40. Cremated, ashes scattered in Central Park, New York City. The most famous Beatle, shot 4 times outside the Dakota apartment building, memorialized at Strawberry Fields with a mosaic that reads, Imagine. George Harrison died November 29, 2001, age 58. Cremated, ashes scattered in the Ganges River in India. The quiet Beatle whose Something in Here Comes the Sun proved he could stand alongside Lennon and McCartney. His concert for Bangladesh pioneered the benefit concert format. Stuart Sutcliffe died April 10, 1962, age 21, buried at Houghton Parish Church Cemetery, Houghton, Liverpool, England. Original bass player of the Beatles, who left the band in Hamburg to pursue painting, dead from a cerebral hemorrhage at 21 before the band became famous. Dennis Wilson died December 28, 1983, age 39, buried at sea in the Pacific Ocean off Marina del Rey, California. The only beach boy who actually surfed drowned while diving from his yacht after heavy drinking. President Reagan personally intervened to allow the burial at sea. Bon Scott died February 19, 1980, age 33, buried at Fremantle Cemetery, Fremantle, Western Australia. Original lead singer of AC/DC, whose raw voice on Highway to Hell defined the band's identity, found dead in a car in London after a night of drinking, his grave one of the most visited sites in Western Australia. Randy Rhoads died March 19, 1982, age 25, buried at Mountain View Cemetery, San Bernardino, California. Ozzy Osbourne's classically trained guitarist, whose technique on Blizzard of Oz redefined heavy metal guitar, killed when a tour bus driver's joyride in a small plane clipped the band's bus. Cliff Burton died September 27, 1986, age 24. Memorial at Maxwell Cemetery, near Ljungby, Sweden. Metallica's original bassist, whose virtuosic playing on Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets expanded the possibilities of heavy metal, killed when the tour bus skidded off an icy Swedish road. Hillel Slovak died June 25, 1988, age 26. Buried at Mount Sinai Memorial Park, Hollywood Hills, California. Original guitarist of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, whose funk-inflected playing established the band's early sound, dead from a heroin overdose in his Hollywood apartment. Pete Ham died April 24, 1975, age 27, cremated at Morriston Crematorium, ashes scattered in the Memorial Gardens, Swansea, Wales. Lead singer and songwriter of Badfinger, whose Without You became a global hit for Harry Nilsson and later Mariah Carey. His suicide note named the band's manager, who had left them broke. Kristen Pfaff died June 16, 1994, age 27, buried at Forest Hill Cemetery, Buffalo, New York. Bassist of Hole, who joined for the recording of Live Through This, found dead in her Seattle bathtub 2 months after Kurt Cobain's death while packing to leave the city. Andrew Wood died March 19, 1990, age 24, buried at Evergreen Washelli Memorial Park, Seattle, Washington. Lead singer of Mother Love Bone, whose death from a heroin overdose led his surviving bandmates to form Pearl Jam and inspired the Temple of the Dog tribute album. D. Boone died December 22, 1985, age 27, buried at Cedar Memorial Park, San Pedro, California. Guitarist, vocalist, and co-founder of the Minutemen, whose Double Nickels on the Dime is a masterpiece of American independent music, killed when thrown from the band's van on an Arizona highway. Robert Quine died May 31, 2004, age 61, buried at a private location. Guitarist for Richard Hell and the Voidoids, whose jagged playing on Blank Generation helped define punk rock, later worked with Lou Reed on The Blue Mask, dead from a heroin overdose after his wife's death from cancer. Lane Staley died April 5, 2002, age 34, buried at a private location. Lead singer of Alice in Chains, whose voice on Man in the Box and Rooster carried a darkness that was visceral and unmistakable, found 2 weeks after his death in his Seattle apartment, weighing 86 pounds. Chris Cornell died May 18, 2017, age 52. Buried at Hollywood Forever Cemetery, Los Angeles, California. Frontman of Soundgarden and Audioslave, whose 4-octave voice was one of the most powerful instruments in rock history, found in his Detroit hotel room after performing a full concert. Chester Bennington died July 20, 2017, age 41. Buried at South Coast Botanic Garden, Palos Verdes Estates, California. Lead singer of Linkin Park, whose voice on Crawling and Numb gave a generation a language for their pain, died on what would have been Chris Cornell's 53rd birthday. Dimebag Darrell died December 8, 2004, age 38, buried at Moore Memorial Gardens, Arlington, Texas. Pantera and Damageplan guitarist, whose shredding on Cowboys from Hell made him one of the most influential metal guitarists of the 1990s. Shot and killed on stage by a deranged fan in Columbus, Ohio. Vinnie Paul died June 22, 2018, age 54, buried at Moore Memorial Gardens, Arlington, Texas, beside his brother Dimebag Darrell, Pantera's drummer, who never fully recovered from witnessing his brother's murder on stage, dead from dilated cardiomyopathy 14 years later. The Rev died December 28, 2009, age 28, buried in Huntington Beach, California. Drummer and founding member of Avenged Sevenfold, dead from an accidental overdose, his final song was originally titled Death Before He Changed It to Fiction. Taylor Hawkins died March 25, 2022, age 50. Cremated, ashes returned to family. Foo Fighters drummer for 25 years, whose grinning energy made him one of the most beloved musicians in modern rock, found dead in his Bogota hotel room hours before a scheduled performance. Eddie Van Halen died October 6, 2020, age 65, buried at a private location. The most influential rock guitarist since Hendrix, whose two-handed tapping technique on Eruption rewrote the rules of electric guitar in 1978, dead from a stroke related to lung cancer. Dusty Hill died July 28, 2021, age 72, buried at a private location in Houston, Texas. ZZ Top, bassist and vocalist for over 50 years, whose bearded image and low-end groove on Lagrange and Sharp-Dressed Man helped define blues rock. Syd Barrett died July 7, 2006, age 60. Cremated at Cambridge Crematorium, ashes scattered by his sister Rosemary. Original Pink Floyd frontman whose psychedelic vision created the band before mental illness forced his departure in 1968. spent his final decades as a recluse in Cambridge. Rob Pilatus died April 2nd, 1998, age 32. Buried at Waldfriedhof, Munich, Germany. One half of Milli Vanilli, whose Grammy Award was revoked in 1990, when the duo was revealed to have not sung on their album, dead from an accidental overdose of drugs and alcohol. Dee Dee Ramone died June 5, 2002, age 50. Buried at Hollywood Forever Cemetery, Los Angeles, California. Bassist and primary songwriter of the Ramones, who wrote most of the band's classic songs, including Rockaway Beach and Chinese Rock, dead from a heroin overdose. Joey Ramone died April 15, 2001, age 49. Buried at Hillside Cemetery, Lyndhurst, New Jersey. Lead singer of the Ramones, whose distinctive voice on Blitzkrieg, Bop and I Wanna Be, sedated to find punk rock, dead from lymphoma. Johnny Ramone died September 15, 2004, age 55. Buried at Hollywood Forever Cemetery, Los Angeles, California. Guitarist of the Ramones, whose relentless downstroked playing on every song created the sonic template for punk rock, dead from prostate cancer. His memorial statue stands at the cemetery. Tommy Ramone died July 11, 2014, age 65. Buried at Mount Hope Cemetery, Hastings-on-Hudson, New York. Drummer and last surviving original member of the Ramones, dead from bile duct cancer. All four founding members gone within 13 years of each other. Lisa Left Eye Lopes died April 25, 2002, age 30. Buried at Hillendale Memorial Gardens, Lithonia, Georgia. Member of TLC, the best-selling American girl group of all time, killed in a car crash in Honduras while on a spiritual retreat. Aaliyah died August 25, 2001, age 22. Entombed at Ferncliff Cemetery, Hartsdale, New York. R&B singer and actress killed when her overloaded plane crashed in the Bahamas at the peak of her career. Old Dirty Bastard died November 13, 2004, age 35. Buried at Christian Cultural Center, Brooklyn, New York. The wildest member of the Wu-Tang Clan, whose unhinged vocal style on Shimmy Shimmy, Ya, was unlike anything ever heard, collapsed in a Manhattan recording studio. Eazy-E died March 26, 1995, age 30. Buried at Rose Hills Memorial Park, Whittier, California. Founder of Ruthless Records and founding member of NWA, whose AIDS diagnosis 10 days before his death shocked hip-hop into awareness. Nate Dogg died March 15, 2011, age 41. Buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park, Long Beach, California. The most sought-after hook singer in West Coast hip-hop history, whose baritone anchored classics by Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and Warren G., dead from complications of multiple strokes. Jam Master Jay died October 30, 2002, age 37. Buried at Ferncliff Cemetery, Hartsdale, New York. DJ for Run DMC, whose turntable work on Walk This Way helped bring rap to the mainstream, shot in his Jamaica, Queens recording studio. 2 men convicted in 2024. Phife Dawg died March 22, 2016, age 45. Buried at a private location. The 5-foot assassin, one half of a tribe called Quest, whose witty flow on Check the Rhyme defined the golden age of hip-hop, dead from diabetes complications. Michael Hutchence died November 22, 1997, age 37. Cremated, ashes divided between his family in Australia and a memorial in France. Lead singer of INXS, whose charisma and voice on Need You Tonight made him one of the biggest rock stars of the 1980s, found dead in his Sydney hotel room. Stuart Adamson died December 16, 2001, age 43, cremated, ashes scattered in Fife, Scotland. Lead singer and guitarist of Big Country, whose anthemic guitar sound defined 1980s Scottish rock, found dead in a Honolulu hotel room. Ian Curtis died May 18, 1980, age 23, cremated, ashes buried at Macclesfield Cemetery, Macclesfield, Cheshire, England. A lead singer of Joy Division, whose haunting vocals on Love Will Tear Us Apart defined post-punk, hanged himself on the eve of the band's first American tour. Peter Tosh died September 11, 1987, age 42, buried at his property in Belmont, Westmoreland, Jamaica. Original Wailer alongside Bob Marley, whose solo career produced Legalize It and Equal Rights. Shot and killed during a home invasion by armed robbers. Bob Marley died May 11, 1981, age 36. Buried at a mausoleum at 9 Mile, St. Anne Parish, Jamaica. The most important musician Jamaica has ever produced, whose untreated melanoma spread after he refused amputation on religious grounds. Rick Danko died December 10, 1999, age 55. Buried at Woodstock Cemetery, Woodstock, New York. Bassist and vocalist of the band whose harmonies on The Wait, the Night, They Drove Old Dixie Down and Up on Cripple Creek helped define Americana, dead from heart failure. Richard Manuel died March 4, 1986, age 42. Buried at Avondale Cemetery, Stratford, Ontario, Canada. Pianist and vocalist of the band whose fragile tenor on Tears of Rage and I Shall Be Released was one of the most moving voices in rock, hanged himself in a motel room after a concert. Levon Helm died April 19, 2012, age 71. Buried at Woodstock Cemetery, Woodstock, New York. Drummer and vocalist of the band whose Arkansas drawl on the night they drove Old Dixie Down was the voice of a vanishing America, dead from throat cancer. Steve Clark died January 8, 1991, age 30. Buried at Wisewood Cemetery, Sheffield, England. Def Leppard guitarist whose riffs on Hysteria and Pour Some Sugar on Me helped sell over 25 million copies. Dead from a lethal combination of alcohol and prescription drugs. Brad Nowell died May 25, 1996, age 28. Buried at Westminster Memorial Park, Westminster, California. Lead singer and guitarist of Sublime, whose self-titled album became one of the defining records of 1990s Southern California, dead from a heroin overdose in a San Francisco hotel room 2 months before the album's release. Nick Drake died November 25, 1974, age 26. Buried at St. Mary Magdalene Churchyard, Tanworth in Arden, Warwickshire, England. Folk singer-songwriter whose Pink Moon and Five Leaves Left went virtually unheard during his lifetime, but became cult classics decades later. Ronnie James Dio died May 16, 2010, age 67. Buried at Forest Lawn Hollywood Hills, Los Angeles, California. Vocalist for Rainbow, Black Sabbath, and Dio, who popularized the devil horns, hand gesture, and heavy metal, dead from stomach cancer. Peter Steele died April 14, 2010, age 48. Buried at St. Charles Cemetery, Farmingdale, New York. Typo-negative frontman, whose deep baritone voice on Black No. 1 and Christian Woman blended gothic metal with dark humor, dead from heart failure. Darby Crash died December 7, 1980, age 22. Buried at Holy Cross Cemetery, Culver City, California. Lead singer of The Germs, whose brief career helped define Los Angeles hardcore punk. Dead from a deliberate heroin overdose the day before John Lennon was shot, his death overshadowed by Lennon's. Phil Lynott died January 4, 1986, age 36. Buried at St. Fintan Cemetery, Sutton, Dublin, Ireland. Thin Lizzy frontman and bassist whose dual guitar harmonies on The Boys Are Back in Town and Jailbreak defined hard rock. Dead from heart failure and pneumonia following years of drug abuse. Kurt Cobain died April 5, 1994, age 27. Cremated, ashes divided among family members, a portion scattered in the Wishkah River in Aberdeen, Washington. Frontman of Nirvana, whose raw voice on Nevermind made him the reluctant voice of a generation.